Good morning, home math people. Today I'm going to talk to you about the decimal number system. The decimal number system is the number system that you have been using all along to write numbers like 3 or maybe 33, 333. The only number I've got over here is 3, and I can't write on this whiteboard. So these are all decimal numbers, and so far you've been looking at numbers that are greater than 1. So numbers that don't generally have a decimal point in amongst them, but there is still a decimal point there. The decimal point comes after the number, and we don't usually write it down. What we worry about is where is the ones place, and we work our numbers out from there. I'll show you what I mean on a place value chart. There it is. There's our number 3. This number 3 is worth 3, has a value of 3. It represents 3 things. And if I were to move that 3 into the tens place, it's worth 10 times as many now, right? It's worth 30. And we have to put a 0 in so that we know that the 3 is in the tens place. And if the 3 were over here, it would be worth 300. And we'd need another 0 so that we know where the number ends, where the ones place is, where the decimal point is actually, is what we're trying to mark here. So every time a digit moves in that direction, it's worth 10 times as much. So here it's worth 3, here it's worth 10, here it's worth 3, here it's worth 30, and here it's worth 300. And if I move it back, oh, it's only worth 30 now. And of course we need the 0. And if I move it back again, it's only worth 3. So in the decimal number system, any value, like in this case the value is 3, is worth 10 times as much if it moves one space in that direction in our place value chart. And if it moves one space in that direction, it's worth 10 times less. So that 3 has moved from here from 300 to 3 tens to 3 ones, and if I move it over here, it's worth 10 times less. It's a much smaller number, and I'm going to represent these numbers with something a little bit more concrete for you. Here we go. I'll put the 3 back over here, and I'll put 3 straws over here to represent our 3 things. And if the 3 were to move across to the tens place, and we put that 0 in there, we need packs of 10 straws here. There we go. 1, 2, 10, 20, 30. Okay, if the 3 was over here, we'd need 300 straws. I don't think they're going to fit, so I'm just going to stick to the 30. Now, the 3 moves over here, it's worth 3 ones, and if it moves over here, it's worth 10 times less. That is 3 tenths of a straw. So here is a straw cut up into 10 pieces, and I'm going to put 3 of them up here for you so you can see what 3 tenths looks like. It's quite a bit less. This here is the tenths place. So on that side of the decimal point, we get 10 times smaller. That's the tenths place. If I cut one of these straws up into 10 pieces, which I did, it would look like this. And if there's 10 of those in one of these, then there's 100 of these in a whole straw, and that is the hundredths place, and that is 100th of 1 whole. Okay, so a 3 in the tenths place, and I think I wrote it just here. Oh, in yellow, how lovely. 0.3 is the same as 3 tenths. A 3 in the 10th place is 3 tenths. If the 3 was over here, only I could move it, there it is, I'm going to put it over here. And of course we need a 0 here so that we know where the ones place is, or so that we know where the decimal point is. We put the 0 there. That shows you that the 3 is in the hundredths place. So we're going to get 3 of these hundredths out here to show you what that looks like. You see how much smaller they are than the 10th. And if the 3 was over here in this place, and we would put in another 0 so that we know where the decimal point is, this place here is 10 times smaller, and this is the thousandths place. And a thousandth of a straw, 10 times smaller than that. I'm going to see if we can draw it like that. That's about the size it would be. It would look like 3 little dots. Those would be thousandths. And of course, if we cut those up into 10 pieces, that would be very, very small. And that would be a 10,000th. So down here, I've written that 0.03, that's a 3 over here, is 300ths, because that's the hundredths place. And I think I've written that 0.003 is 3,000ths, and that's the thousandths place. Now I'm going to go to this one here. We are going to talk about place value of decimals. We are going to talk about decimals as fractions, and we're going to talk about ordering decimal numbers, and then we're going to look at adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. That's a lot, but one thing at a time. Place value. So we've just had a look at this place value chart, and I've explained to you that the value of that 3 is 10 times larger if you move it one space in that direction, and it's 10 times smaller if you move it one space in that direction. I've shown you that this is the tenths place that comes after the decimal point, the hundredths place, the thousandths place, the 10,000ths place, and if I wanted to move over to another place, I'd put a 1, a line, and an extra 0 there. So down here to place value, here is a number, 124.605. And we're going to ask some questions like, what is the digit in the tenths place? And you can have a look over here at the tenths place. That's the one that comes after the decimal point. And the number is, the digit is 6. You could ask, which place is the 2 in? There it is there. The 2 is in the tens place. The 5 over here is in the thousandths place. Which number is in the ones place? There it is, the number 4. You could ask, what is the 6 worth in this number? And the 6 would be worth 6/10. I'm going to change that to 0.6 equals 6/10. So the 6 is in the tenths place, and that the value of that 6 is 6/10. Those are the sorts of questions you're going to be asked. Let's move on to decimals as fractions, and I'm going to see if I can write in this order. I can. 0.4 as a fraction, that 4 is in the tenths place, so as a fraction, 0.4 is 4/10. Now, decimals are just a kind of fraction where the denominator is an order of 10. It's a 1 with some zeros, like 10 or 100 or 1,000. Much easier to work with than your other fractions with denominators of 7 or 3. So decimals are easier to work with than fractions. Now this is a 6 in the hundredths place, so this one as a fraction is going to be 6/100ths. This is a 2 in the tenths and a 6 in the hundredths. This one is going to be 26/100ths as a fraction. And this one, it ends in the thousandths place, 0.134, so it's going to be 134 thousandths. And going back the other way, 3/10, that is a 3 in the tenths place, 0.3. 14 out of 100, 0.14. 324 thousandths, 0.324. And this is 2 thousandths. That's a 2 in the thousandths place. So we need to just put in some zeros until we get to the thousandths place. It's the third one after the decimal, and that's where we put the 2. So there is 2 thousandths as a decimal. You will need to be able to do those, and I will leave the ordering decimal numbers for the next video. go and have fun putting decimal numbers into their place values.